What is going on, YouTube? Today what we're doing is we're going to actually take a look at a new game. That's right, today we're looking at Dokkan Battle. I mentioned this before and the viewership was kind of split. Some of you already play this game, some of you do not, some of you were interested in trying to play this game, and others said that they would just not be interested at all. So for the sake of kind of expanding the channel and moving on to other games, what we're going to do today is kind of get everyone on the same page at the very least and look at how this game is actually played. Reviewing how it works, the basics, and that way we can kind of move forward and people can kind of decide what they want to watch and what they want to do from then on. So stay tuned, let's get into the video. Alright guys, so for those of you who are new to the channel, basically the way this works is I have a giveaway that goes on for roughly about a month. What you do is you must be subscribed in order to enter. You listen throughout the video for the 2 questions that I will be asking you to post down into the comments your answers to, and of course drop a like on the channel. And you have all the information about the giveaway on your screen as of right now. So that being said, let's get into the video. So today what is going on is we're looking at the basics of this game right here, which is Dokkan Battle. It's another Dragon Ball game, similar to basically Dragon Ball Legends. This was actually the older version, I guess you could say, of the gacha type, which Dragon Ball Legends kind of followed with. So the way this works when you are starting out, okay, you're going to notice that you're going to be rank 1, you're going to have next to no units, you're going to get a lot of these free crystals throughout the game. So if you're familiar with gacha game principles, essentially the whole point of playing these games is to be able to kind of level up your characters, summon other unit types that you can use into battle, and basically just get stronger in that sense, right? So the very first thing that you want to do, honestly, is going to just blow through the quests, because it'll increase your rank. As you gain rank, especially at this point to the game, you're going to get a friend request, basically, where you can bring a friend along. So I haven't gone through too much of it yet, but basically if I were to go in right now, it's going to ask me to pick a stage, so it doesn't matter, just pick your stage. Go into the normal version, especially when you're starting out, and then you have these friends here. So obviously level 1 you won't have that high of friends. Me, I'm not even level 100 and I already have the strongest type of units available as friends here, the LRs, right? So the game starts, you kind of have the normals, the rares, the super rares, then you have things called SSRs and LRs. Those are the higher end units that ideally you want to have just covering your team, right? So I can pick, let's say this right here, friend here that I sent a friend request to, so he pops up very often in my friends list, and it kind of gets added onto my team. So I have the best that I kind of found at this point, not spending too much money onto the game. I think I did 1 summon for the New Year thing, but basically you want to get the same type. So here I'm using these kind of Saiyans. They all kind of buff each other for the most part. And then you have your friend at the end there. Once you go into the battle, so we'll actually go in just so you can see the gameplay, and then I'll talk about how you're going to be progressing from there. So you do have story going on, so I'm going to skip here. It's not kind of spoil anything, but essentially there is a story going on during the game, similar to kind of Dragon Ball Legends, where it's kind of taking the present but taking it into a different timeline and having things happen from there. So the game is played by using these little dice here that you're going to be rolling and trying to pick up things. So you can pick up items, you can pick up boosts for when you're going to be fighting, and essentially you're just kind of moving along. So here I'm stuck with all 2, so I'm going to take some damage on the way, and now I'm going to be stuck into this fight here. So this is what the fights actually look like, right? So you have different colored balls here. So if you're expecting a game that kind of looks like Dragon Ball Legends, where you have to kind of think and fight, and obviously the state of the game is a separate topic, but generally we can agree that the fighting style is very different from game to game. Here what you're doing is you're matching the color of your unit to the color of the balls. You can pick up different colored balls, but you get double key, which is the color that you have around the portraits on the bottom there, to increase your attack, right? So here you can see that I'm missing 2 in order to max out, and this will cause me to do a super attack. So unfortunately the colors aren't very friendly here, but what we're going to do is just go for the quick little 2 here, and that will max me out. Now some units, I believe this one that I just used, can do an ultra attack if you were to increase beyond this, but just for purposes of this video I'll show what super attacks just kind of look like. We'll do the same thing here for this guy. And we'll do the same thing for him. Now he will not have enough for his super attack, so you'll see that he'll do a regular attack. So let's start off. So they do a bit of damage to me, and I attack back with my super attack. So you have this whole animation where usually it's going to kind of follow the theme that was kind of followed in the anime. And so now they'll do any kind of memorable attack, right? So this was a classic scene with that unit. Same thing with the Goku and Frieza from Dragon Ball Super. And you kill them off, right? Obviously, at some point you get way too strong for the story, especially if you're playing on normal, and it kind of just becomes a quick breeze, right? As far as the items that you're picking up, there's a variety of them, right? So this Baba here, basically you pay a bit of Zenny, and she gives you something for your collection. So at the end of your stage, though, you're going to come up against these bosses. So when I go in here, it's going to say boss battle. It's going to give me a little story time. We're going to skip through the story time, but here comes our boss battle, right? Obviously, I'm going to one-shot this boss because I'm way too strong at this point. But generally, when you get to the events and so on, this is where it's going to get pretty important. So now let's just go, let's say, do something like this. You can reorder your units to get the buffs kind of going around. So we're going to do a little something like this. And then we're going to kind of move this out. Let's just do something like this. And then we'll give all the reds to that guy over here. Obviously, there's ways to maximize how you're going to give your buffs around. But I mean, it doesn't matter. Like I said, this guy's just going to get one shot here. And it's over. And you get some Zenny. You get some experience. My units are all maxed out. Doesn't matter. And you end the stage, skip the story, and you're clear. And that is how you're moving through the story. Now, obviously, at the beginning, you may have to fight a bit longer, depending on if you find a friend that is max level. And you do have the option to update and kind of refresh the list until you get someone really, really strong that can just one-shot everything for you. So the catch-up is really, really quick in this game. Now, going back all the way to the beginning, how do you kind of progress, right? So you have a few options. Now, obviously, the story can provide you some units. You also have the event section here. So in the event section, what you're looking for are going to be the story, growth, challenge, and Z battle, which is not available right now, sections which will give you different rewards, right? So throughout the different kind of stories, different event pieces here, you're looking for rewards. So see, recruit SSR Supreme Kai and West Supreme Kai to your team. So essentially when you're going in, I believe I did this already, I did. So when you clear these stages, you'll have the option to select normal or hard. So you gain obviously more experience, more rewards for going to the hard mode, obviously. And basically you can recruit these SSRs, right? So getting high-powered units early is not really that difficult, so long as you have that strong friend that can kind of just one-shot everything. Generally, you'll be able to do the first kind of stages and build a decent team using these stories here. The growth is generally going to be used in order to complete specifics, which will grant, for example, massive rank XP, right? So if you want to rank up your level, your player level, then you can use something like this. It's available once every 7 days. Ranking up will increase your stamina, which allows you to run more of these, right? So for example, when I go in, you'll see that right now I'm capped at doing the hard 61 because I only have 69 total stamina. These can be increased by leveling up or by buying more stamina. And next we'll have challenges, which will give you these different types of upgrades. So now if we go, let's say here, and we go over to the rewards, you'll see that you can get these different little awakening medals. So that kind of ties into how you're going to get your units stronger. So eventually I'm going to make a separate video on how this area works for your team. So I click the little team tag on the bottom there. And basically what you would like to do is use your training. So training makes you use either units or items in order to increase the level of the individual unit. And then you would want to Dokkan Awaken them, which will make them stronger. And throughout this process of kind of training, awakening, awakening, Dokkan Awakening, all that good stuff, you're going to look at the hidden potential at a certain point when you actually unlock it at a certain level. So the hidden potential, I'm going to make a completely separate video for, but the idea behind all of this is if we look at my cooler there, if we go, let's say, up here, you'll notice that there is a big heart. That means that I already had a copy of him and it unlocked it. So if we go down here, you'll notice that there's a face here that is similar to the portrait that I have of my cooler. Basically, if I pull a dupe, so if you've ever heard the terms thrown around of the dupe system, essentially when you get doubles, you unlock these branches, and then you can get all these extra stats and supers and all these different abilities. So if we go over here where I have some of them unlocked, I think I have, where did I have it? Up at the top here. So up at the top, you'll notice that some of these were glowing. If we just zoom out, they glow like this because they're optional, right? So if I click on them, it actually tells me that I can choose either this critical hit or I can choose the evasion on the right. We're not going to touch that for now. It doesn't really matter what it is that I pick for now. But you would want to maximize this across your characters in order for them to do the millions and millions of damage that you see some of the other YouTubers do with their units. And that is the basic idea behind the game. So level up your units, make them as strong as possible, go into the events, complete large events, and some of them the prizes get really big. In particular, if I'm looking at, I believe it was the boss rush, that was here it is, Dokkan event, boss rush, right? So if you go into here, you'll actually see that you can get all kinds of these crystals here. So 5, 10, 20, 30, 30, 35, 35. There's tons of crystals to be gotten. These crystals are used to summon. And ideally what you want to do at the beginning, all these crystals that you're getting, right, you want to be using them to get guaranteed SSRs as much as possible. So save them, hoard them out as much as possible so you can do the multi-summons. Because you'll notice that here sometimes there's a special, right? So for 30 coins you get 10 units. And you get a featured SSR guaranteed. So that means that the 10th, the last pull out of the 10 units will 100% give you an SSR unit. That's very important, especially at the beginning when you're trying to build a strong team, because you can get other SSRs during the pull, plus the guaranteed at the end. So you can end up having multiple SSRs throughout your pull. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to go into one of these. I have 36 coins saved up. So we're going to do a multi-summon so you can have an idea what it looks like. So it's costing me 30 coins. I'm going to get 10 units and 1 feature SSR at the end. So similar to Dragon Ball Legends and every other gacha game, you have your little animation, gives you an idea of what it's going to look like. So I didn't get much there. I'm going to pull, and I'm going to hope that he transforms or does something kind of cool. So he does go Super Saiyan. Here, this is going to determine how good of a pull I'm going to get. So he goes Super Saiyan 2. There are Super Saiyan 3 and Super Saiyan God options there. And off the bat, I already get Goku Black, so that's an SSR. So I got very lucky because this can become an LR. So not all SSRs can become LRs. Only the strongest can. So I get very lucky here and pulled this SSR. Moving on. We're going to see probably a lower class unit here. So we do see just an R, which is just a regular rare. So there's normal, rare, super rare, then SSR, and LR. So moving on to the next. I'm going to kind of breeze through this because a lot of these will be kind of irrelevant to me at this point. For all the Krillin fans, just picked up a Krillin. Here we're moving into our, I believe, 4th unit. So we get a little Minotia. And this is our 5th. Which looks like 17. Now these can fake you out, so sometimes they'll show you a portrait, but then it'll just kind of randomly switch to a more powerful unit. When it switches, it generally goes up to the strongest type of unit, so SSR. So that is very pleasant. So sometimes just kind of watching through it is a nice little surprise. So here I end up picking up a Trunks. We're looking at probably a Chaozu, yeah. And we're getting close to that guaranteed SSR. I believe it's in the next one, yeah it is. And we end up picking up a Kefla. That is an SSR. It's a Super Saiyan Kefla. Looks very good. And we are at the end. So there are our 10 units. We got a Goku Black and a Kefla. Now you can do 2 more with the special. So when it says 2 available, it's because the standard multi-pull is 5 per unit. So that would be a total of 50. So you get a kind of rebate when you have these types of situations, right? So I can do it 2 more times for 30. You get 1 every time that you're completing missions. If you do little side missions, which you can find by going over here to team, or not team, but going over to home and going to missions on the right here. And basically, as you complete different missions, you'll be able to click through, and it'll offer you rewards, right? So let's say I had completed this one, it would have given me 1 Dragon Stone, and that just kind of adds up for you to do the multis. So those are the basics for the game, guys. Like I said, I'm going to go a bit more in depth with how to increase the strength of your units, because to do the higher end events, I mean, you will get one shot if you're not strong enough. It's as simple as that. You do need to continue. There is a progression to the game. This is about a 4-year-old game. They're having the celebration in Japan, I believe, right now, because there's 2 versions of the game: the global, which is the English version basically, and then you have the Japan version of the game. Not the same game, oddly enough. So I believe now the English version is getting a new year, kind of a year anniversary soon, so we'll see what that ends up being. But essentially, to complete all these events, you will need to get stronger, so stay tuned for that. The questions for the giveaway today will be: number 1, how did you enjoy this game if you've played it so far? And if you have not played it, what kind of turns you off about the game that you just don't feel like playing? Because most of the viewers right now do come from Dragon Ball Legends, so very similar kind of games in terms of the functionality. Obviously the combat is very different, but let me know what you think about Dokkan in the comments. And the second question will actually be: give me your suggestions for different games that you would like to see on the channel. I'd love to get different kinds of suggestions, see what the consensus is, so definitely drop that down in the comments below. And without further ado, guys, we will see each other in the next video. See ya!